We got to stop coddling Red Panda. Mm-hmm. She's washed up. Just acknowledge it. Today's episode of Titus Tate is brought to you by the Club Trillion Foundation and the Club Trillion Foundation Scholarship. I have plugged this before, Tate. It is time to plug it again. We are getting down to the wire here. The scholarship is open. For those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, the foundation that I helped start is giving out a scholarship to a walk-on basketball player, Division I men's basketball player. It is open to all Division I men's basketball player walk-ons. The deadline to apply is February 1st. You can go to clubtrillionfoundation.org to apply. We do not have as many submissions right now as we should. And that's fine by me. I mean, there's only going to be one winner, so who cares how many people actually submit it. But, if you're a fan, I assume people listening to this are college basketball fans. They would love to see a guy on their team win it. Tweet at him. If you know someone who's a walk-on, tell them about this scholarship. It's $15,000, Tate, and a free trip to the Final Four.
This is better than what most kids get to go to school, of course. And we should also point out that I think a lot of people were confused because they don't view you as a walk-on. You know what I mean? So maybe there's a little bit
they don't?
intimidation, right? They may think that you're too good, and they don't want to reach out to you because they don't view you as a walk-on. It's not an equal. It's not a one-to-one. So
well, is that
for
a
all
good
those kids out there,
is that a good bet? That like where on the so you're saying they view me as a real player, or like they view me as like
you are a real
manager
player to them, yes, or a real commentator. You're basically you can Dan Dockage this whole
thing. That is true.
Just
like
say you're a winning basketball player, winning coach, whatever it is after the fact.
As you get older in media and you're a former player, your credentials of like how good you were as a player mattered less and less.
Of course, yes.
Yeah. And it's same is true with coaching. Like Dick Vitale, does anybody know how good of a coach he was? No one really cares.
It's like Digger
same with
Phelps.
Bill Raftery.
Yeah.
Does anyone know?
Remember the highlighter?
How many games did Bill Raftery win as a coach at Seton Hall? Does anybody know? No one knows.
No.
We're just like we just love him on camera. That's my goal. I want to do that. So anyway, go help spread the word. As I said, the deadline is February 1st. It's quickly approaching. If you have not submitted your application by then, you lose. You get nothing, and you like it. So that's how that's going to go. Tate, we today have to talk about what a week in college basketball this was. The old Big East is back, and it resides in Lawrence, Kansas. In the old Big East, it's a play on. This is not the old Big East.
We don't even talk about this. There's too many brawls to bring up this brawl.
In the old Big East, it's a Wednesday. But in the Big 12, apparently this is the biggest atrocity that has ever happened. People are calling this the worst fight in college basketball history because recency bias is a thing and nobody remembers. I don't know.
The question
9
is,
years
how
ago
will
Cincinnati
college basketball move on?
Yeah, how will we move on?
No
Should we even do a show? Like, I feel complicit, honestly, that we're here making jokes and like something so severe happened in a college basketball court. If you missed it, there was a fight in Kansas State game. We were going to talk about that at length. We were going to talk about our good buddy Zion Williamson debuting in the NBA. We were going to talk about there's this NCAA convention going on in Anaheim, and Tate and I got really excited.
They're all
about
talking.
This.
They've heard the
there's a lot of talk.
Yeah. They've heard about the FBI, and they've heard that Condoleezza Rice maybe cannot save everyone.
But mostly we're just going to talk about Kansas and Bill Self. So we're going to get to it. All right, Tate, it is about 8:15 out here on the West Coast. We just got done watching Michigan State lose in Assembly Hall. There's a game before that we don't really need to talk about.
What game was that again, Mark Titus? I do not recall.
Should I do it now? Should we just get it out of the way?
A lot of people, first off, let me say this. A lot of people have said, we had our first show at Fox, right? And we're very excited to be here, and people were saying, they're talking bad about college basketball. They aren't excited about the sport. It must be because
I love when you do the people are saying.
Yeah, people are saying. Lots of people.
Because it is your mom and dad.
And maybe my family members, the people from my hometown. Yeah, they're all saying that we don't want to talk about it because our teams are bad. North Carolina is not great. They just lost in double overtime to Virginia Tech. Ohio State has lost.
I'm going to put my hand up and say you're absolutely right.
Yes,
when Ohio State was rolling, I was like, this is the greatest season ever, and now we're horrible. And I'm like, this season sucks. We don't need to talk. We don't even like 2019. Of course.
But it was a fond memory to think that they were both in the top 10.
I'm not going to apologize because every fan's that way. Every single person that's accusing that of, like, if you're a San Diego State fan, you're like, well, this season's great. What are you talking about? You know damn well if the wheels fall off, you're going to be like, never mind, I changed my mind. This season actually sucks.
Yeah, just leave it alone. Leave it alone, folks. Just let it happen.
But I've officially hit the panic button on Ohio State. It's official. So I don't know if anyone's keeping score at home. If you're
we don't have a button for you to hit. But
I think the last couple weeks I've been just trying to like ignore it. I'm just brushing it under the rug, trusting that something we'll figure it out. But losing there's no shame in losing to this Minnesota team. Like, they're obviously not great. They were kind of a bubble team right now, but like they're probably gonna make the tournament, right? I don't know. It's not like you lost to Northwestern or whatever, but Ohio State already lost at Minnesota. We've lost God knows how many games in a row at this point. I think we've like 1-6 in our last 7 since you and I saw Ohio State beat Kentucky in Vegas, and Coach Cal said this is the best team in the country, and
right to my face, he looked at me dead in the eye and said Ohio State is the best team in basketball.
And you and Chris Holtman are being chummy in the post game interview, and you're asking him, do you have a message for the haters? And all of this is happening. Ohio State is 1-6 since then, and the one win is versus Nebraska at home. But I was just thinking, it was just the start of conference play. Upsets happen. They're figuring it out. The loss to Minnesota in and of itself is not bad, but when you've lost that many games and you've already lost to Minnesota, so you're going into this game knowing Minnesota's already beaten you. You can't get swept by Minnesota. You can't. You got to win one of these games to get the season back on track. And we still lose to Minnesota. Marcus Carr, I don't know who this guy is. I knew him from the first game. I tried to block him out of my mind. I don't know where he came from. The Carr family as a whole.
Yes.
Get him out of my
Tony
face.
Carr,
I brought this up last time. Marcus Carr dropped 35.
Yeah, they always do this to Ohio State. Yeah, it's a problem.
Derek Carr is going to
he's going to come out of somewhere. He's going to be the quarterback's coach at Ohio State and ruin the program at some point.
Oh, it's ridiculous. But to me, this was a must-win. It was also a can't-lose. And neither one of those things happened with Ohio State. I'm officially smashing the panic button. I think we could miss the tournament. I think there's turmoil in the locker room. I don't know what's happening. My hair is falling out. Cancel the season.
Cancel the season. The funniest thing about college basketball is that every team, for whatever reason, seems to have a panic button. Yeah. Every program is like ready to hit it.
Oh, yeah.
And what I ask is, who's going to
We need a panic button in the studio, by the way.
But who comes when you hit the panic button? When you call 911, obviously, you hit the ambulance, cops, whoever it may be. But when you hit the panic button in college basketball, is it to get an Underwood?
Make a trade.
Like Brad Underwood, like a coach to come in and fix things? Or I
think it's just a declaration that you can no longer.
We don't care.
Like, what I'm saying is I don't care. What I'm telling the world is that you can no longer roast me on Twitter when my team loses, because I'm already roasting myself. I've already hit the panic button. I'm hitting the eject button. We're losers this year. It's over. So don't tweet at me. Stop tweeting at me.
Yeah.
That's what the panic button is. I think. I don't know.
I think that Chris Holtman and the Ohio State Buckeyes, they forgot the one rule of Vegas, which is whatever happens in Vegas has to stay in Vegas. And
yeah.
Something happened.
Well, what happened was
11-1.
Good basketball being played stayed in Vegas, I think.
Something happened. We don't know.
I think that's what happened. Is Ohio
I'm going
State
to point to that. I'm
played very
Vegas.
well.
I'm not going to blame Coach Holtman. We love Coach Holtman. We're going to blame Vegas.
Ohio, yeah.
Don't take your team to Vegas.
Like Dwayne Washington was getting suspended, Luther Muhammad was suspended. There's something going on in the locker room. I don't like it. I don't like it.
I'm gonna blame Vegas for North Carolina too. Just keep blaming Vegas.
But about 4 hours to the west of Columbus, Ohio, things are rolling in Assembly Hall with Joey Brunk. It was so great being here watching the game. We watched it in the Fox War Room, as they call it, with the 30 TVs on the wall, and all of our new colleagues. I was trying to tell him, I was like, this is Joey Brunk comes out of the gate, dominating Michigan State, and I said, Joey Brunk is the litmus test of Big Ten basketball of Indiana. When Joey Brunk's got the funk, IU's rolling. That's how it works. And the man came out. What do you have, like 8 points in the first 4 minutes, and then I think he scored 2 or 4 the rest of the game. But
it's fine though, because
big time plays. Joey Brunk, yeah.
And
yes.
We've been saying all season, we didn't know if Indiana basketball was going to be back, right? We're kind of a little skittish. You were saying don't talk about IU. They've had a great start to the year, but don't bring them up.
They smashed Florida State.
Yeah, so everyone's kind of wondering, can we talk about this team? We even had someone walk in and say, "Is Indiana actually 14-4?" That's amazing. I didn't know that.
Is that a real 14-4?
But when you see Joey Brunk win a game against Michigan State, that kind of set the tone of, oh, this is Indiana basketball. Yep. Joey Brunk's out there, the Brunkhauser. This is good times.
My dad, who was becoming
still
a character on the show, and we're gonna have him on the show at some point. He texted me in all caps Hoosiers with 30 exclamation points. So he got the thumbs up.
Indiana basketball was back
because this was a quiet night from Devontae Green. That's really what it is. My dad is the biggest Devontae Green hater on earth. Well, a lot of IU fans are. So but yeah. So he got this stamp of approval.
But how could you get the graphics congratulating Devontae Green for Danny Green's successes if he were not in Indiana?
Right. So yeah, that was something that happened tonight. Was IU beat Michigan State and Ohio State lost. But
congratulations.
You got any other thoughts before we get to the real meat and potatoes of the show?
Yeah, 1 for 2.
let's get to what we really want to talk about, which is this Kansas State fight.
How will we move on? That is the
how
question.
do we as a country come together and heal from this? Initial thoughts, Tate, on everything that went down. Silvio, let's set the stage. I'm sure everyone's seen it by now. This is what, Wednesday night? This was last night, or was it Tuesday night?
Tuesday night.
Yeah,
2 nights ago.
Or
I don't know. What is today?
Wednesday night. It was Tuesday night.
It's today Friday. Today's Friday. You're listening on Friday, so I guess, yes. Let's just say, Wednesday night. Perfect.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It happened.
We
are not lying to you. You can check the highlights. Look this up.
Silvio De Sousa, I'm sorry, I always mispronounce the name like everyone else does. Silvio De Sousa is dribbling the clock out, gets the ball stolen from him, blocks the shot of, I forget who was it? I forget who the kid was.
Antonio Gordon?
Was it Antonio Gordon?
Maybe.
I don't know.
He's suspended, so we'll just say that.
Yeah. Who cares? It doesn't matter. The kid, the Kansas State kid, he blocks the hell out of his shot, which, by the way, one of the great, in a vacuum, that is one of the best blocks I've ever seen in my life. If you just take that part of the clip where he blocked the shot, I think De Sousa knew it, which is why he stood over him.
DeJuan Gordon is what they're saying in our ears.
DeJuan Gordon. Okay, DeJuan Gordon. DeJuan Gordon, you got the ball stuffed in your face. Yes. Great block.
Great name, by the way. Great basketball name.
Yeah. De Sousa poses over him, and then all hell breaks loose. He grabs a chair at one point. Punches are being thrown. Guys are coming off the Kansas State bench. My favorite part of all this, and I want to get this out of the way because I will forget to say it unless I say it at the top, was there's a big scrum happening, and Fran Fraschilla is on the call, and I love Fran Fraschilla so much. He's one of my favorite commentators. His Big 12 knowledge is unbelievable. He just knows every guy. He's perfect for calling Big 12 basketball games. But I love when these altercations happen and the guys who are commenting the games, like their brain almost can't process it. They're like, I have all these notes ready for rebounding margins and turnover charts and all this.
Points.
I was not prepared to be Joe Rogan calling a UFC fight tonight, and I'm really unsure of what's happening here. So Fran's just kind of like, I don't like it.
This is bad.
And then as soon as De Sousa punches it, he's like, I'm ready to offer my thoughts. This is bad. I was dying at that. He's like, I don't know this is not. Yep, this is bad. This is definitely bad.
I will say this. This all started because of Monmouth. And if you don't remember, Monmouth basically was getting beat by 50 points early in the season against Kansas. And this whole situation was set up where Kansas, again, was dribbling out or just holding the ball. Right? So at the end of the game, we blew you out by 40 points. Game's over. Thanks for coming to Lawrence. We'll see you later. Ball is stolen. Guy goes down, dunks it. Should have been an and one, but it's not. But it's a big moment. Monmouth celebrates. I'm excited, and it was
the kid gets a tech.
Yeah, the kid gets technical
because he was posing.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, yes. So that was the precursor, and I think it's worth bringing up because I don't think it's coincidence. I think that was on De Sousa's mind.
Of course,
like, we're not gonna let this guy dunk on me.
And that was bigger than the game, even though they won by 50 points. People were like, "That was pretty big." Monmouth.
Well, the Monmouth kid. Remember, he did the interview a couple weeks later, and
he said,
was like,
"I don't give a you know what."
And then he said, I think I got the team pretty hyped up or something, and I was like, "You guys."
Shout out to Coach King Rice and J.R. Reed. Those are great guys, great coaches. Love the Monmouth team.
Oh, God. But I think you're absolutely right. I think if that doesn't happen, then I don't think the fight with Kansas State happens.
That's what I said. I think there's residual resentment from that moment. So De Sousa has a little bit of that built into this. So I give him a little bit of benefit of the doubt. But as soon as he throws the first punch, he knows the wave that is coming. And, of course, what we saw was the entire Kansas State team decides the game is over. And we are going to get into this fight. We're going to make this thing happen. Bruce Weber, after the game, says, my team told me that the game was over. Yeah. So he kind of defends them without really defending them. It was kind of a wink-wink deal.
He's like, this wasn't my responsibility. When the clock hits
zero, it doesn't matter where they go.
They're my basketball players, but when the clock hits zero, they become private citizens, and I'm not responsible for anything that happens. So what ends up, we all know what the fight that we saw. De Sousa gets suspended for 12 games. This is what I want to talk about. This is the real thing because I don't think there's really. What commentary are we going to offer on the fight? It was
this kind of behavior cannot be tolerated.
Ultimately, no one was actually hurt, which doesn't mean it's like I'm excusing the fight. Like it was bad. It was very bad. You can't do this. De Sousa, I think De Sousa. Here, let's just get to this point. De Sousa suspended for 12 games, right? McCormick, who was on the floor at the time for Kansas, but he was all the way on the other end, just standing in the corner as the clock was getting dribbled out. Gordon steals the ball, goes up for the layup. McCormick still doesn't really move. He doesn't start moving until like the fight breaks out, and he's like, "Ooh, give me some of that," and starts sprinting down to the other end to start throwing haymakers. He gets suspended 2 games for Kansas. Kansas State had 2 guys suspended. James Love, who was in street clothes, the guy if you've seen the clips, he's the guy in the black shirt that just comes in just wailing on everyone. He gets suspended 8 games, and then Antonio Gordon, who also came in off the bench, who was not in the game at the time, but he number 11 comes in. He gets suspended 3 games, which like I've watched it a few times. I don't really know what he did to deserve 3 games. I mean, he came off the bench, but like he wasn't the most egregious. But this is the point I want to make: is the suspensions to me, and this is my hot take on this whole thing. DeSouza was railroaded in all this. I think DeSouza. So if we're breaking this down, I think the block is fine. As we said, he got the ball stolen from him. The block was a great clean block. He poses over the guy. That you can't really do that, but I'm not. I mean, you can't do that in the sense that like that's a tech. That should always be a tech, and that's like bad sportsmanship, quote unquote. But between now and next week, that's going to happen on another college basketball court. Like this happens all the time. Yeah. Guys dunk on guys and like kind of pose on them. They block shots. They pose on them.
Yeah, just watch high school basketball. That's all it is.
Or you're Brad Davison. You take a charge. You pose on it. Whatever it is you do, guys are flexing on guys. So that to me was like, it was bad, but it wasn't especially egregious. And it didn't become a problem until then the Kansas State guys come and shove DeSouza. And then DeSouza's even like, whoa, dude.
He's kind of, he's
like,
jarred
whoa,
a little
whoa.
bit. And then
he gets
like,
shoved again.
He's like, okay, guess it's time to scrap.
And then he starts throwing punches.
It's fight or flight mode. You know, at that point, he's like, all right, I'm ready to go.
And then, and then he starts punching. But my whole point was like, I feel like he was retaliating to everything. And listen, you can't retaliate. That's what we learned this when we were in grade school. It's like it's never the first guy. It's always the retaliation that gets the biggest punch.
Which is actually like a really bad lesson. If you really think about it, it's like couldn't both people get in trouble?
So
like, we talk to both people.
So Mrs. Johnson, you're saying if I want to fight, I should throw the first punch? Is
Absolutely. Go with your gut, kid.
So DeSouza, in my view, he was retaliating. Retaliation is bad, but is it 12 games bad, Tate? Because here's what I think doomed DeSouza is he picked up the chair, and everyone, you have the image. This to me was it was an optics.
This
thing.
is a meme. Yeah.
This is an optics thing where the headline of every story across the country, every print journalism, whatever, was a picture of DeSouza pulling the chair behind him. It became the meme. You know, you got people putting WWE belts on him. All that kind of stuff. But he didn't actually use the chair. And that's what I'm very confused by because like he doesn't really land any punches. He doesn't he pulls the chair up. People were saying that the coach took the chair from him, but there's like I saw this other angle where he actually just dropped it and the coach's hand didn't. I was breaking it down like it was like an NFL catch, like your catch or not catch. Did you think he touched it? Did he touch it? Did the coach touch it? No. Ooh, here's the angle. Here's the definitive angle. The coach never touches it.
Jarence Howard is the coach.
Yeah,
for Kansas.
So DeSouza drops the chair, which, like, I don't know. I kind of want to applaud that, actually, because, I mean, you know how much restraint it takes to, like, you're scrapping and you pick up a chair and you're getting ready to, and you're like, I probably shouldn't. I'm going to drop it. Like, that's kind of mature, right? But in all seriousness, like, okay, fine, give DeSouza 12 games. I think everyone, like, the dude, the James Love in the black shirt for Kansas State, how is he not punished? He was not even in the game. This dude's supposed to be hurt. He's supposed to be injured. The whole reason he's not playing is because he's injured.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say, like, if anything, if I'm Bruce Weber, I'm upset at the tape. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, why are you not in uniform tonight? You also have to point out that DeSouza, he has been suspended for a year, so he already has the kind of cloud of this is not a great like in the national media.
Kansas is already like
they've already done the
easy
whole
target.
His guardian was paid, but they weren't attached to each other. We already heard that story.
Hey, I heard along with the suspension, he got a pay cut. Tate, did you hear that one?
Oh, boom, roasted. Got him. And that's sort of where we are with him. He already has this bad, but we saw him in Maui. He's a really seems like a very docile, sweet kid. In fact, when they were giving out the
seems like a docile, sweet kid.
He is. I mean, look, they gave Maui Jim sunglasses out, and the man wouldn't get near him. Because he's like, I'm not dealing with any NCAA.
Oh, yeah. That's true,
They're like, Silvio, we promise you can take the sunglasses. He's like, get that away from me. So I do think he's trying to right the ship. I thought the note that he wrote out to the public, every single comment is like, oh, yeah, cool that your lawyer could write a. First off, like, just leave him alone. Of course, he probably has a lawyer that wrote it or someone with the university wrote it. But again, he does seem like he is contrite with the whole situation. Bill Self, after the game, is like, he's a great kid. I hate to see it. But I want to go back to the rule book. The rule book is this. Rule number 10 says, and Jay Billis wrote a whole thing about this. Rule number 10, if you get in a fight, you're ejected from the game, and you're suspended 1 game. That's the rule. That's the rule.
Yeah.
So basically a picture of him holding his chair that he didn't even use.
That's what doomed him,
and put it down. Mm-hmm. He has 11 extra games to deal with this.
Well, it was pointed out, too, that people were saying 11 games from – like an 11-game suspension would take him through the rematch. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people are theorizing that they just want – like the Big 12 does not want DeSouza suited up
to be in Manhattan, Kansas.
Yeah, which makes a lot of sense to me. But
so
still,
let's put him in street clothes, just like the other coach up there, and have him ready to go.
Because as we've learned, if you're in street clothes, you definitely can't get in a fight.
You can't get involved. You're in street clothes. Yeah, we learned that. Perfect.
No, so I felt like which is why this is a rule in the NBA. Is it not a rule in college? I thought it was a rule in college as well. But as you said, the game was over. Maybe if you come off the bench, that's when you're especially screwed. If you're coming off the bench for a fight, and it makes a ton of sense because. If you're getting involved in like DeSouza, you could pass it off as like a heat of the moment type thing. Like you're in the heat of the moment, you're retaliating. Again, I'm not excusing the retaliation, but like I get it. The guy pushes you, you push him back, and I maybe don't punch him, but like whatever. The problem to me is like you guys like McCormick who are completely on the other end of the. If you come running in and you start throwing punches, how do you get 2 games for that? How does James Love get 8 games? We're literally, he's done nothing the entire game except sit there and probably eat Skittles on the bench as the game's going on. And he comes in and just starts punching everybody, and he gets a less suspension than the guy who just, like, blocked a shot, stood over a guy, and then got pushed, and then picked up a chair. And, like, we're, like, 12 games for that.
Do you think there's any sort of Big 12, all these people are trying to stick it to Kansas because they were able to get away with DeSouza
Here's
before?
What I think.
So they're like, yeah, we
this
can
goes deeper than that. This goes all the way to the top. This goes to Bill Self, who – Bill Self wants to play 4 guards. Bill Self needs to play 4 guards. Destiny tells Bill Self the 4-guard lineup. You do not need to play McCormick with Azubuike. Azubuike he's already big enough. He takes up enough space down there. We don't need McCormick out there. We don't need DeSouza out there with him. Put the 4-guard lineup around Azubuike. That's what this team was destined for, Bill. And Bill is like, I know, but DeSouza, he's suspended for so long, and we had to go through so much stuff to get him eligible. I feel like I have to play him. McCormick's sort of like the same thing. Like he's a great player for it. Like I kind of have to play him. I know what I'll do. I'll call in a favor to the Big 12 office. I'll say suspend Silvio for as long as you possibly can because I don't want to play this man. It helps our team if he doesn't play. I think that's what's going on.
So Bill Self called it. There was some insider trading.
I think Bill Self's going to appeal the McCormick suspension, and it's going to get bumped up from 2 games. Bill Self's going to call in an appeal, and the Big 12's going to be like, Bill, we went pretty light on him, actually. I mean, we got him on video throwing punches. He's like, no, he needs more. Yeah, give him 8 or 10.
Give him a few more. Yeah, let's give him a break. Let's get him past that Kansas State game for sure. Also, Marcus Garrett was completely involved in this whole thing, but again, he's a guard, so we're cool with that. We'll let him come back and play.
You know who wasn't involved was Mitch Lightfoot, which was pointed out to me tonight that he was standing. There's a picture of him just standing watching.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
And what was the joke that he's going to burn his red shirt?
Yeah,
now?
he's going to have to play now. Bill Self slapped him on the ass and was like, "You got to play, Mitchie."
So here's what I want to do, because I really am kind of, again, I don't think it ultimately matters because I don't think DeSouza is that important to Kansas. I think he's averaging like 2 points a game or something for that. He's not an integral part of their team. I mean, whatever. But justice is supposed to be blind, Tate. It's wrong that he got 12 games. I'm going to say it's wrong, and to prove my point as to why it's wrong, I'm going to point out some other historical suspensions for you. Are you ready for this? So. You might remember that Cincinnati Xavier, that there was a fight in 2011.
Yes.
In December of 2011. Very ugly. At the time, people were calling it the ugliest fight in college basketball history because that's what we do anytime there's any sort of fight.
How did we move on back then? Do we remember how we moved on? I don't know. I can't recall.
What is the playbook on that one?
What is the rule? What is the move on rule?
I think people wore a lot of pins on their shirt, like you just wear like a ribbon that just like in memory of the fight, and then we healed as a nation and moved on from that. So the biggest instigator in that one, he didn't actually start it, but he definitely tried to finish it, was Yancey Gates. You might remember Yancey Gates throws a ball at Des Wells, who was part of the initial confrontation, Des Wells of Xavier, takes a ball, hits Des Wells, then 10 seconds later, clocks Kenny Freese in the side of the face, and Kenny Freese's head like splits open and just starts bleeding. Very ugly scene. You got Kenny Freese coming off Kenny Freese gets rattled. If you like rewatch the video, maybe funny's not the right word, but like he gets stuck and you see him like kind of it like falls down and he's very disoriented. It was
in the words of Mike Tyson, everyone has a plan until they get hit in the mouth. Yes.
Very, very ugly scene. Much worse than holding a chair above your head and not using it. Yancey Gates got 6 games for that. He got half the suspension that and I know that these are different entities assigning the suspensions. I know there's different circumstances. I'm just pointing out how funny this, like how ludicrous the whole thing is. Yancey Gates got 6 games for that. We have Marcus Smart, who you remember went into the crowd when they were playing at Texas Tech. He was called a piece of crap. He then goes into the crowd and shoves a fan. And I'm not sticking up for the fan. The fan is an idiot. Jeff Orr was his name. The Jeff Orr got suspended for the rest of the season. He was told, "Don't come back to any more Texas Tech games."
See, that seems like a fair suspension.
Yeah, that's a fair. Yeah, which he should have. I'm on board with that one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Marcus Smart goes into the crowd and shoves a fan and gets 3 game suspension.
Yeah, that seems about right.
Gerald Henderson, when he cocked his elbow back and tagged Tyler Hansbrough in the face, and we got the bloody.
Oh yeah. Had to be a long time.
1 game suspension.
Oh, indefinitely.
An indefinite 1 game suspension.
Coach K's
You might remember also in 2011, big year for college basketball fights. Georgetown played an exhibition. They went on an exhibition tour in China in 2011. Nasty fight breaks out. I actually rewatched the tape today. A Chinese player picks up a chair and puts it above his head. I was dying laughing.
Did he use it?
No, it was like the same thing.
Maybe
he
that's
puts
the
it
move.
Up and
It's
he drops
intimidation.
It.
You know, it's kind of like I could, but I won't. Because again, it's just basketball. It's just a game. Let's move on.
So that was actually the ugliest. Like if you actually rewatch the thing, it's like guys are running all over the place, and you're in China, so there's like the part of like, what's gonna happen here? Like, is there any recourse whatsoever, or like the authorities are just gonna side with the Chinese players, and we're especially screwed? So it was really really bad. So between the Chinese players and the Georgetown players, there was a grand total of 0 game suspension. Then,
not on domestic turf. It's fine.
In 1972, which is actually the worst fight that ever happened, when Corky Taylor of Minnesota, and I'm not bringing this up just because Minnesota beat Ohio State, but when 1972, Minnesota, Ohio State, were playing in the barn. Corky Taylor helps up Luke Whitty. Luke Whitty falls to the ground. He helps him
like a
up.
Looney Tunes episode.
It kind of was. The whole scene. Picks him up, knees him in the balls as he's helping him off the court.
The Chris Paul.
Later, Ron Behagen, I think is how you pronounce his last name, steps on Luke Whitty. Comes off the bench. He'd fouled out in the game. Comes running out, starts stomping on Whitty's head. Both those guys got suspended for the year, so that's not the point I'm making. But Dave Winfield, Dave Winfield was on the Minnesota team. He came off the bench, and here's the report from Sports Illustrated. Sports Illustrated reported that Winfield leaped on top of Ohio State's Mark Wager when he was down and hit him 5 times with his right fist on the face and head. Meanwhile, Whitty was removed on a stretcher.
Sounds like rule number 10. Yeah, exactly.
Whitty was removed on a stretcher, suffering from a concussion and a gashed chin that required stitches at the University Hospital. 2 of his Buckeyes teammates were also hospitalized. I would argue that fight was probably worse than Silvio De Sousa putting a chair above his head. But so Dave Winfield throws 5 punches at least, sends people to the hospital. 0 game suspension.
So what you're saying is this fight is soft. They're soft.
And then finally, I have Daryl Martin of South Carolina in 1988 was playing Louisville. He gets in an altercation with 2 different Louisville players. Then LeBradford Smith of Louisville comes up to say something to him, tags him in the face. Same sort of deal where LeBradford Smith is like, what just happened? That's on video as well. Sticks him right in the face. 0 game suspension. So to recap, Tate. Yancey Gates, Marcus Smart, Gerald Henderson.
This is the worst act in college basketball history.
Yancey Gates, Marcus Smart, Gerald Henderson, the entire Georgetown team, Dave Winfield, and Daryl Martin, all combined for 10-game suspension. and De Sousa got 12 for picking a chair above his head.
We got no blood. This is Twitter's fault.
It is Twitter's fault. It's a lot of pearl clutching going on. So.
I cannot believe this. Well, now I feel horrible because I was like, 12 doesn't seem that bad.
No, I mean, honestly, like, it was a bad scene. It is embarrassing. Like, I'm going to put my old man hat on and be, like, mature for a second. It really is bad. Like, we don't want that in college basketball. It's yada, yada, yada. But my problem isn't even that it's 12 games. My problem is that, again, the dude in the black shirt, James Love, who comes, like, immediately, he goes from 0 to 60. Like, at least De Sousa was like, he has a defense. He's like, Your Honor, I was pushed. Like, of course I was going to defend myself. This guy is hurt. He's injured. He's not even in the game. He's on the bench. No one was coming swinging for him. And he's like, well, my time to shine. And just starts coming in like a helicopter.
It just feels like that everyone wants you to learn something from this. You know, everyone's like, well, fortunately nobody got hurt, but hopefully we learned something. There was nothing to be learned.
What is more, what is a blacker mark on college basketball in your eyes? This fight or the time Iowa State fans rushed the court when they beat Iowa and the reporter broke his leg because he was trampled? Oh, wait, he actually tripped over his own feet and broke his leg.
I do remember that story, and I always like when people get upset about rushing.
That was my
floor.
favorite story.
Maybe
ever.
the fans should have rushed.
That was my favorite, especially when the
thing.
guy like tweeted from the hospital bed. He's like, "I tripped over my feet. Sorry, guys." And you saw these people like, "Well, still, you could have been trampled."
Do you consider this a melee? I'm so tired of people calling this a melee. It's not a melee.
I heard. Never mind. I was gonna make a bad joke. I was gonna say that extension cord he tripped over. I heard he got suspended for 10 games. They didn't use that extension cord for 10 games. Do you have any other thoughts on the fight?
I think at the end of the day, this will not affect the Kansas team.
Will it affect Bill Self's job status? Fire Bill Self? Is he going to the NBA? Do you think he's got to the point where he's like, I'm over all this. I get kid eligible. I work my ass off to get DeSosa eligible, and this is how he repays me. I've had it all. I'm going to coach the Thunder when Billy Donovan goes to UCLA. After Mick Cronin's fired.
Absolutely not, but I would love that to be the case. I will say this about Kansas. One, it really doesn't matter about the basketball for their team. Like you said, DeSosa really doesn't play. So this whole story is a non-starter, really, because a bunch of non-starters are involved. No one cares.
I like that. That's
and I wanted to do something with you this year where we could do basically a coin draw for program wins. We got to figure out what sort of currency this is, but coaches try to build up program wins.
Right.
Bill Self is trying to build up program embarrassments to see how high he can take this chain of command. It's like Jenga, you know what I mean? It's like, when will it finally break and
Can
crumble?
I make this point?
I don't think it will.
That on the very first game, so Kansas is a national embarrassment. We've already gone over it. It's humiliating. They're
Do Kansas fans care? Absolutely not. They're fine. They feel bad for DeSosa, just like we do.
Yeah. So Kansas, between the FBI stuff, you have Bill Self, the Snoop Dogg with the strippers, on down the line. We've covered it ad nauseum on this program. And then now we have the fight. We have the picture of DeSosa holding the chair. Meanwhile, you have the Indiana Hoosiers in the very first game that they play after all this. They beat Michigan State in a big-time win, as Gus Johnson called it on FS1. My question to you, Tate, if you're an Adidas exec, are you not looking at this saying this is the perfect opportunity to divert all the resources away from Kansas, the toxic cesspool that is Lawrence, Kansas right now, and send it to the angelic utopia that is Bloomington, Indiana?
Let's be honest. All those Adidas executives are probably, in a small confined space, eating cup of noodles. They're using extension cords to make a fire. No, I'm kidding. But yeah,
can't they use their one call that they get a week or whatever and make a call and say, we're putting all their no, man, this
Archie's
is
basket.
Dude, this is Indiana's biggest problem is that Adidas has they've always been a B-level player to Adidas. Maybe this is their time to shine. Maybe they see the opportunity, and Indiana's going to step up, and they're going to get all the Adidas money.
It did not look like that based on the shoes that they were wearing.
I know.
Archie Miller just had basic Adidas on.
They even said that on the broadcast tonight. Gus was
John's a little disappointed.
Yeah.
It's like, I thought it was a prime time
they were
game.
supposed to. Yeah, Gus just straight up called out Adidas. That was great. Any other thoughts on the fight? No. Let's just move on to. Do you want to talk about Zion?
Yeah, let's talk about the biggest fight we've seen on the internet in quite some time. From 3 quarters to the final quarter. Zion Williamson, the story of redemption, the story of a guy that is probably, quote unquote, the most hyped player since LeBron James, is what they're saying. He had his debut. It was Wednesday night. We had a Zion cam. If you went to your ESPN app, you could watch the Zion.
It was a
cam
wide
before
lens.
The game. Beautiful. And Zion was not so great to start the game, and the world was ajar. They were aghast. They didn't know what to do. They were shook. They didn't know what to do. They were just losing their minds, and they were saying, "Where is our savior? Where is our hero? Has he been eating too many beignets?" And it was the meanest things you've ever seen about someone, honestly. And the kid is young. It's his first NBA game.
It was disgusting. I was disgusted by it. Talking about a kid
honestly,
talking about a kid's way like that.
How will we move on? Yeah. That's what I'm asking. How will we get past the Zion shaming? And luckily for us, Zion had a fourth quarter where he had 17 points and made 4 threes, and everyone lost their minds the other way.
He looked very timid. He looked, nervous isn't the right word, but he wanted no part of the basketball when he would catch the ball early in the game. And I was kind of bummed out because I'm excited. All jokes aside, I mean, like, who doesn't want to see Zion do well? I want to see everybody do well.
Yes.
It's fun. I'm not a hater. I have no hate in my heart for any basketball players except if your last name is Carr. But Zion, he comes out, he's looking really tentative, and it looks like he wants no part of it. And I'm just like, man, this is a bummer. Because like everyone else, I tuned in. This is the one NBA game I'm going to watch all week. I was under the impression, the way ESPN was hyping it up, that this was the opening night for the NBA season. And he didn't really do much. And then he gets hot in the fourth quarter, and my God, The energy, it was electric in the stadium, in the arena. What did the King Smoothie Center or something?
Yeah,
Is what they call it?
King
the
Center,
Smoothie King Center.
The
It became
King
so.
Smoothie. Let me just tell you, if
Who
it
is
was
the
the King
Smoothie King?
Smoothie Center and Zion was playing and he was getting shamed like that, they'd be like, no more King Smoothies. Stop that.
Absolutely electric. The man goes 4 for 4 from the 3-point line, Tate. He hit more threes last night in limited minutes. He gets pulled from the game with 5 minutes left, which is actually a smart move, and I want to talk about that later. But he goes 4 for 4 from the threes. More threes than he hit in any single game at Duke. Do you think this is a coaching flaw from Coach K that we never saw Zion on the perimeter at Duke?
I think Coach K is living in a past. You know what I mean? Basketball has moved on.
The game is passing by.
It's passing by. Yeah. It's pace and space now. I don't know if Coach K has kept up with that.
Three's worth more than 2.
Yeah, exactly. People are figuring it out. I will say this. I saw the quote from Alvin Gentry about when he pulled him, and he said Zion said to him, "Coach, I can win the game for this team. Leave me in." And that was the last thing he said, and then Alvin Gentry pulled him out of the game. And I just found that very hilarious. Like, that's a very rookie head coach move. You know, the rookie comes over, he's like,
leave me
"Coach,
in.
I can win this game. Please leave me in." He's like, "All right, go sit your."
He's like, to be honest with you, Zion, I forgot that we have you on a minutes restriction until you brought that up. So now, but
what do you think about something?
I think it worked out in his favor. I think we were talking about this earlier, that if Zion, let's say it's flipped, that game is flipped, and to start the game he comes out hot and he's got 17 straight points or something.
The first quarter,
and the internet's going crazy because it's been hyped up for so long. We want to see what Zion can do. He comes out, he's red hot, the place is going nuts, and then he just disappears for 3 quarters. Then everyone looks back on that debut and they're like, what a disaster. This guy doesn't have the clutch gene. This guy shuts it down. Whatever the narrative would become. I think in a similar vein, it worked out perfectly that he can point to like the coach and blame it and the medical staff, and like you said, like, I wanted to stay in. It works out perfectly. You get your 17 points in a row. You're mounting the comeback. They take you out. The Pelicans end up losing. I don't know how this could end up. As we've established many times, the NBA is not about wins and losses. Nobody cares. It's about like narratives and perceptions. And Zion was the big winner. So congratulations, Zion. You did it.
Congratulations, Zion. You are officially the franchise leader, or he is the
third fattest guy in the league.
Okay, no, something like that. What was it again?
Jeff Van Gundy just like going in on it was so. It was.
That's what I'm saying. What is wrong with
everyone? It was
absolutely
not. It was awesome that like every single person that was making fat jokes like just pivoted immediately and just said, "How dare everybody make the fat jokes?" And I don't know. It's
the same people that made the fat jokes were then calling out the people for the fat jokes and deleting those same tweets. Because I was going back to try to see what people had said before. They were gone. Yeah. Which is why, Twitter's great. You can always delete it.
Did you see what Lizzo tweeted about it?
No, what'd she say?
I'm just kidding.
Oh, yeah. She's like, this is great. I love Zion. He's the best.
I'm just kidding.
She's feeling great. 22 points, which is one more than Anthony Davis. With franchise debut.
The Pelicans love
well, that was great.
Yeah.
Do you think that Zion is better than Anthony Davis? That's what people are
asking.
asking.
I think Zion is snubbed from the All-Star team, if that's what you're asking.
Great.
Yeah, the All-Star rosters came out, and Zion was not on it. And I think you got to start asking some tough questions and demand answers. Why was he not on there?
It was very similar. You mentioned that. Trae Young's start. Remember his first game? Trae Young's first game again. He got traded for Luka. He came out. He was terrible. He was turning the ball over. Yeah. He was missing shots, and every single person was like, "LOL, Atlanta."
Yeah, right.
You guys are idiots. Why would you ever make this trade? This is the C version of Steph Curry. Again, Trae Young announced today through tears that he is a starter in the NBA All-Star game. And no one gave him that leash. And again, this is a perception game, so people still see that same guy when they see Trae Young.
I'm going to go off for a second. Trae Young, I did this when we were doing the end of the decade podcast too. The most disrespected, for reasons that remain unclear to me, why this man gets so much disrespect from people is mind-blowing. I mean, it happened at Oklahoma because his team started losing, and they felt like ESPN was shoving Trae Young down the throats because we got the trade, like, we're 40 seconds into the game, and ESPN already has a graphic that says Trae Young 0 points, 0 assists, and then they just started updating it throughout the entire game. And then Oklahoma loses like 12 straight or whatever because, again, it was not Trae Young's fault. His best teammate was a freshman, Brady Manick. So Oklahoma starts losing. Everyone's losing their minds. Like, we don't care about Trae Young. Get him out of here. Meanwhile, the kid's averaging like 30 and 10. The first player in the history of college basketball to lead the country in scoring assists. Then he goes to the league. He tears it up immediately, almost immediately. He's like 5'7", 146 pounds, and he's torching everybody. But
made a case for Rookie of the Year, but no
one cares.
No one cares. Oh, even now, February. No one cares about February.
Even now, like Luka,
everyone cares.
Luka's established himself as like maybe the best player. I don't know how to praise Luka. Anytime you say any praise about Luka Doncic, it's not enough, and whatever you think Luka Doncic is, he is.
Yes.
Internet. even after Luka's already established himself, people still can't just be like, Luka's great, Trey's great, everybody's great, we love you all, big hugs all around. Now they're ripping down Trey because they want to. Everyone had these definitive takes that when the trade happened on draft night, Atlanta made a huge mistake. Atlanta's idiots. Now it's turning out that Atlanta's not really idiots. It's like an Elijah 1 Jordan situation.
Yes.
Like the Rockets aren't stupid for drafting Elijah 1 instead of Jordan. It's that sort of situation. And for some reason, people just continue to hate Trae Young. Meanwhile, the kid is everything I've seen, seems like a nice kid, plays pretty well, ton of fun to watch. I don't understand it. Tate, explain it to me. Why do people hate Trae Young?
Well, they both can be great, and it's very funny because as soon as Zion had 17 points in the fourth quarter in his NBA debut, every single person that had been tweeting about Ja Morant being the best player in that draft and should have been the number 1 pick was immediately going back and saying, I don't know what to think because Ja's my guy, but Ja versus Zion, what is it now? Now they're trying to make these two guys go up against each other.
I'm starting to think.
Here,
I'm putting together a theory that people that call themselves NBA Twitter, I'm starting to think they don't actually watch basketball, and they just like
they watch Twitter.
They get on Reddit and just make memes, and that's kind of how they consume basketball. I'm working on this theory. I'll get back to it. Sounds
pretty good. Yeah. Can we do that? Can we start?
It's a great gig.
That's my new thing.
I want to talk to you about this. I sent you this article the LA Times put out. The NCAA is currently meeting in Anaheim, and I think the timing of the Kansas State fight, Kansas, who is the big black mark on college basketball right now, that fight happens as the NCAA is meeting in Anaheim, California, and having their convention to go over all of the problems in college sports and how do we fix them and all that. So the LA Times wrote this article. There was this documentation that was passed out last spring, I believe, and now they're talking about it now at the convention.
Yeah, so they put in a public records request. The LA Times, they got the NCAA's report that they put together.
And the people, so they asked administrators, coaches.
The NCAA, which is, again, the NCAA is not some hierarchy that sits up, as if they're like they have a chief justice or anything. It's just everyone that works within this whole mold, yes. Yeah, so the big thing that stood out to me was they asked for what is the biggest threat facing the NCAA, and they had all these people weighing in on it. And you got these great quotes from the public. I actually read through the document. Like, I read the article, and then they had a link to the actual document, and I went through and was reading all the responses. Absolutely hilarious. The ones I want to point out are these. One guy said the biggest threat is that the court system will force us to start paying athletes, and that will be the end of amateur sports as we know it. I think that if we did a better job to show the academic benefits of playing college sports, it would take a lot of wind out of the balloon. All of the perks like letter jackets, cost of attendance, ring, etc. So he's arguing we need to highlight the benefits we provide, such as letter jackets and rings. Yes, and I will go further with another quote. That man is at least 85 years old, right? Absolutely. Here's one. Our main weakness is that we still do not do an adequate job of informing the public about the good work that we do. Yeah. What? What? I don't think that's it. That's not it. So here's my pitch to the NCAA. Hire us. We will be your spokesman. Yeah. I will gladly be a mouthpiece. Yeah. Send us all the good things you're doing. Tate and I will go over it on the show, and we'll get the word out. Swimming in cash. Yeah. We're like lighting cigars as we're talking. This year, did you realize that 2,000 diplomas were passed out? Pappy Van Winkle's on the table. All the furniture are like human beings. We're just like sitting on it. Yeah. I love student athletes. No, in all seriousness, one thing that did stand out to me was this quote, because I found this fascinating because I've theorized that this is a possibility for a while. One guy said the biggest threat is our membership stability. There is a potential that the highest revenue schools might break away. These 65 schools can pursue their own interests. And I've brought this up whenever we get in the weeds about all the NCAA problems and name and image likeness and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. I make the point that the NCAA is never going to pay salaries because that's the exact opposite of what they stand for, though it's the exact opposite of why they exist, to preserve amateurism. That the way that college athletes are going to get paid is that like real salaries. Mm-hmm. I think the NCAA is going to eventually bend on letting guys sign autographs and whatever. But they're never going to say, like, all right, Peyton Pritchard, here's you get a $40,000 salary. That's never, ever going to happen under the NCAA thing. So the only way it's going to happen where that does happen, where guys are being offered like $100,000 over the table for a year, is if schools break away from the NCAA and start their own thing. And I've always just kind of said that as like that's never going to happen, though.
So for the fact that the guy acknowledged it, it's still not going to happen, but the fact that like somebody's acknowledged it in an official NCAA document, I found fascinating.
Well, the fascinating part is all it takes is one of those, I guess, big institutions like a Texas. Let's say what's happening at Kansas happens, Texas football or something like that. And then they decide, or Notre Dame or North Carolina. North Carolina fans at one point, when all the academic stuff was going around, that was the answer.
They wanted to secede.
It was to secede.
That's
people in the South,
that's
they
what you do. Yeah.
They're like,
take your ball and go home.
Agree, I'm out. And that was like the big talk. But again, when you really look at it, it's not going to happen. It's impossible because everything is so convoluted and interconnected that the system is rigged in the right way for the right parties. That's the whole point.
Right.
And that's why when you read this, it's pretty hilarious because one of the points was the excessive negative publicity the NCAA gets from sports writers, and different agendas and different values are the problem. They don't buy into the whole success of the vision of the student athlete.
No, it's not true. I buy into it. I buy into it.
Yeah, we buy into it. So we are not the problem.
Let us buy into it.
Let us write about it.
You know my favorite thing about any NCAA thing that that happens is I love the guy that this is just a tangent I want to go on. The guy that always responds with it's all about money. Like if you were to if you and I were to discuss this and you're like I just don't understand why XYZ, and then someone will chime in and be like it's about the money, as though like none of us know that it's about I don't know. That's a frustration I have. Is the people that are like the people that are like I'm smarter than everyone else. I've cracked the code. Mm-hmm. The NCAA is just trying to make money. I'm going to share my wisdom with everyone in the comments of these articles. Like why? If I was to tweet right now, man, the tournament was so much better when there were 64 teams. I don't like the play-in games. Guarantees there would be people in the comments be like, yeah, man, but it's about the money. I'm like, thank you, sir.
Yeah,
I did not realize that was the driving force behind this stuff. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you, professor, economics professor.
It's the Space Cash episode. Oh no, not Finland. Did you guys hear about Finland? Oh no, not that, not those guys.
Oh god. So
my final quote that I have, which I thought was great, and this is the biggest threat to the NCAA, folks. According to the NCAA, this is their biggest threat: legislation adverse to our values. That is the biggest threat to the NCAA.
You know what their values are, Tate, is money. That's their only value.
Yes. It's a double entendre. So that's the greatest threat to the NCAA. Is legislation.
Yeah, it is fascinating because they know.
So call your senators, your congressmen, whoever, and tell them to draft up a bill because that's the NCAA's nightmare.
Yeah, they're shaking. I found it fascinating, too, that there's a lot of mentions of basketball. Now, when they were doing the survey or whatever, we were in the thick of the FBI kind of stuff. One guy did call out, like, one of the quotes was the biggest threat is the inability of the NCAA to govern itself is real. The basketball scandal is a good example. NCAA is supposed to be the group in charge of this. So there's like one guy that's inside the system that's like, we are not equipped to like deal with it. Where are the police? Like one of the cops is like, I thought the police were supposed to arrest the guy. What's going on here? Mm-hmm. And that's not a great sign for the whole thing. But I found it fascinating that they mentioned basketball a lot in this report. And it makes sense why, because all the stuff that was going on, but there's like hardly any mention of like cleaning up football whatsoever. So congratulations, football programs. Yeah. Definitely not cheating. Definitely not.
No, for the love of the game.
No problems whatsoever with football. All the problems in college sports exist solely with basketball.
Yeah. Come on.
Nothing to see here.
Yeah, we're doing great.
Away.
Yeah, we love the playoff system.
Before we go, we have one more segment we have to debut. We are contractually obligated. Fox told us that we have to do this once a week. Now that we are Foxmen. Is that what they call us? Foxmen?
Yes, Foxmen.
Is that what it said?
Like Watchmen.
We are contractually obligated to talk about things happening here at Fox. And I was informed this 10 minutes before we went on. They were like, make sure you do the Fox plugs. And I was like, what does that mean? And they were like, you just have to. They're like, I don't know, maybe talk about the Big East. And I was like, have you heard the show? That ain't happening.
Can't do it.
That is not happening.
Only the old Big East.
So I wanted to just take a second and what do you want to plug, Tate, from Fox?
Well, quickly, again, we're throwing this together. I have never seen this show in person, but I've heard about it. It's called The Masked Singer. Have you heard about this?
Yeah.
Apparently, they put celebrities of sorts in masks, and they sing, and then America votes on it, and then there was a winner. And here's my big caveat. Here's what I don't understand. I've been told Wayne Brady won The Masked Singer.
Right.
And again, I don't think – isn't the rule of The Masked Singer that there are no singers? Like actual singers.
Oh, like no, like actual good singer. Yeah.
Well,
I don't know.
Wayne Brady is a singer.
Yes.
Yeah, let's just say it.
Yeah, I watch every episode.
So Wayne Brady is a singer in my mind. So I think this has opened up the whole competition, which is great. So here's my whole thing for the Masked Singer. Here's the next iteration. Okay, now we can have people that are singers in the field. Britney Spears is out there.
I like
Britney
it.
Spears on Instagram, if you haven't seen it, unbelievable. Just go check it out. It's like 30 minutes of free entertainment. She does
I have no idea what does this mean?
What this means is that Britney Spears has never
1,000 different things.
No. She's never gotten the voice respect she's deserved in her mind, I'm sure. Let's put her in a mask. Let's put her in the Masked Singer, and let's see if she can win.
Okay.
Let's take pop stars and see if they can actually out-sing other people that aren't singers.
Yeah.
Let's just see if it works.
Get all of the like has-been pop stars and like,
Britney
bring
Spears
them back.
pulled out the mask and she's like, finally, like, they just like me.
My favorite
they
thing
just
about
like my voice.
My favorite thing about clips from the Masked Singer is the judges like throwing out just absurd names as though like I don't know how this like you hear someone say like Ken Jeong is standing up being like that's Darva Conger and you're like what?
Yes.
Who?
Yes.
Why would you ever guess
Chopra?
Yeah.
Everyone's like, what? Shaka Khan. Put Shaka Khan in there.
Oh man, what a show!
Yeah.
I also want to see the
That's
Masked
my
Singer.
company.
Here's my other pitch to the Masked Singer.
Yeah.
Do the thing that Sting used to do in the wrestler Sting, where I don't know if he used to do it. I just know he did it once. There's the famous gif where he had the mask of himself, like he painted his face white and then he had the black stripes on it. So he wore a mask of himself, and then he like appeared out of the crowd, and then he took the mask off to have his real mask on. I want to see.
Are you saying you want a mask on a mask?
I want Britney Spears to go on the Masked Singer wearing a Britney Spears mask, and it's Britney Spears. And then when she unmasked, it's Britney Spears, and everyone's like,
or it's Sia. It's Sia. She's just Sia. Everyone's like, I think it's.
It blows everyone's mind. So is that the Fox update? Are
That's
we good? Are we
update.
contractually obligated?
Is there anything else you have for company?
No, I just want to say it's been fun walking around the office. I ran into Cletus, the football playing robot, in the break room earlier. He's a lot shorter.
Sweet guy though.
He's a lot shorter than I thought. Like on TV, he looks big and. Yeah, we didn't really talk much. I don't know, his English isn't great, but he seemed like a really, really nice guy.
Can't really turn it off, though. I feel bad.
I want to plug the Puppy Bowl is on Fox this year. We work in a dog-friendly office, too, by the way. I'm very excited about this. So we're going to get Moses' appearance. He's still working on the paperwork. He hasn't got his ID badge yet to get into the building yet, but there's that. So, yeah. We're company men. There you go. Is that enough Fox talk? I think we're good. All right. Our lawyers are giving us a thumbs up. All right. Anything before we go?
Wayne Brady's people are very happy about this.
Shout-outs and closeouts. Quickly, I want to shout out the McDonald's All-American game. The results, the rosters were just put out. I guess those are results for those kids. But North Carolina wins the offseason for the first time. Congrats.
At least since I can remember. And I know that this is something that you're not supposed to be proud of. We made fun of Duke winning the offseason the past 3 years. North Carolina finally wins it. 4 players in the McDonald's All-American game. It's an honor. It's a privilege to be here. It's nice
Humbled
to win.
And blessed.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. To win the offseason for once is great for North Carolina. Just the McDonald's game and the roster itself. We had the roster.
We did.
And we chose not to scoop it.
Yeah.
For the record.
This is our brand.
Because I didn't know enough of the other kids to scoop it. So I was kind of like, I could have done the Carolina stuff, but we don't need that.
Yeah.
Just say I knew we won.
This is great. The great thing about this brand that we have of having the scoop but not
to be honest, I was threatened by the scoop.
Yeah.
I didn't want to put it out there, and then I'm like, I don't want the jump coming after me.
We are the biggest cowards in the scoop
yes.
Yeah, the great thing about this brand is we can claim every scoop. We can be like, we had that. We actually had that. We just didn't
I had it. Yeah, sorry.
I had LeBron to the
I didn't want
Lakers.
to put that out there.
Put
Kevin Durant told me 3 summers ago he was going to the Warriors. Sorry about that.
I just didn't want to put it out there. I want to give a shout out to Jerry Stackhouse while you're on Carolina stuff, who tweeted an apology, a very lengthy apology to the Vanderbilt faithful, not for getting absolutely stomped at home by their rival Tennessee. That was not the apology, Tate. The apology was that his team went 0 for 25 from the three-point line, and it ends a 34-year streak, over 1,000 games, 1,080 games to be exact, that Vanderbilt had made a three in a game. And it was snapped by going 0 for 25. 2 teams now remain. My research turned up, and by my research I mean I was reading one article about it. UNLV and Princeton apparently are the only 2 teams left that have made a 3 in every game they played in since the three-point line has been put in. So Jerry Stackhouse was like, I'm so sorry. I was putting in all my best shooters at the end of the game trying to get this 3-point thing.
Do you think he knew that was in existence?
Yeah, he did.
Oh, wow.
Oh, definitely. He definitely did. Yeah, and the fans were like losing their minds as they kept jacking threes and missing, and the fans were like, They were more upset that they snapped the streak than again that they got stomped.
Jerry, come home. Go to Chapel Hill.
Yeah, you don't have to put up with that.
Yeah. Come on, Jerry.
Come on. So I want to give a shout out to that. I want to give a shout out to Derrick Rose and Brad Calipari, 2 Detroit basketball titans. That's actually Detroit's nickname, I believe. Detroit Mercy Titans, I believe. They had a meet and greet. Did you see this? That Cal Coach Cal was at the Pistons game with Brad, and Brad had like what do you call that?
The shoulder bag?
The fanny pack that you wear on your shoulder?
Shoulder bag, right?
Yeah.
I'm saying shoulder bag, yeah.
Shoulder bag?
Yeah.
And one of those on.
It's a YSL, probably.
The meeting of the two greatest point guards in Detroit basketball history was a sight to behold. So shout out to all fans of Detroit basketball.
It's so funny too because Derrick Rose, I've been lucky enough to meet Derrick, once or twice, and he's a very nice, humble, sweet man. And to think about him talking to Brad would just be probably the greatest conversation ever. And we need to give our microphones up to them for that conversation because I want to see what John and Brad and D Rose all have in common because Brad had to be such a big fan of Derrick Rose at that age.
Right.
It just must be very sweet.
Right.
Congratulations, Brad.
Also want to mention Red Panda is washed up. Red Panda, I am to Red Panda. I am becoming to Red Panda what you were to Sister Jean. I am the one man brave enough to put my neck out there and say she's washed. I loved Red Panda as much as anyone else. But I went to what game did we go to? Clippers Hornets this year, right? At Staples Center. She was dropping left and right. And I don't think it serves anybody in this country. Again, we are a country right now that is on the mend after witnessing the Kansas State fight. We are as divided as ever. Times are tough right now. What we need is not like sympathy and coddling. What we need is that can-do spirit. We got to stop coddling Red Panda. She's washed up. Just acknowledge it. Like lying about it doesn't do anybody any good. The clip of her at Notre Dame Syracuse game.
Poor Mike Bray.
Oh my God.
Gosh. Can't get away from it. What
an atrocity. I mean, like she had a great run. She did. I'm not she's a first ballot Hall of Famer. I'm not arguing otherwise. I'm not even telling her to retire. She can do whatever she wants. I'm just saying she doesn't have it anymore. I think
what's really happened, you brought it up earlier, is that we live in a highlights world, and Red Panda lives in a highlights world as well, and she sees these basketball players, and she's like, I just see this guy have one dunk, that's the big story, and that's it. So I just got to do this one time. I have to deliver one time. It's going to be out there. Red Panda's back.
She's overexposed, I think, too. We need to do fewer shows. She needs to do one show a week, hype it up, get it going, nail it, practice all week, and she's just flying all over the country, going to God knows where. She's showing up at like high school basketball.
She's kind of like Slash. Like we're not sure if it is one person or a lot of people. You know what I mean? How many Red Pandas are out there?
Wouldn't that be a conspiracy?
Wow.
There's 12 Red Pandas,
and they teach you how to do this.
And there's like one who's actually great at it.
Wow.
And the one we're seeing that's failing is like
that's not the real Red Panda.
Yeah.
It's like Santa Claus. You don't always get a good.
Does she ever fail like in a big game? It's always like a Notre Dame Syracuse, like two crappy teams.
Yeah.
Like if she's at the Clippers Lakers game and it's on.
Let's look at her schedule and figure out like if she did a Jazz and Clippers game the same night she did.
I might take this all back. I mean, I might be back in on Red Panda. She just saves it for the prime time. She's saving it for the postseason. She's gonna do the NCAA tournament. Like she's at the Final Four, just killing it. But when she gets relegated to Syracuse game, she's like, I don't have it. But no, I mean,
she's a primetime player.
Just don't coddle her. She doesn't want to be coddled. That's not what you want.
Yeah, legends want to live.
Yeah, legends want to be treated with respect, and it's not respectful.
Speaking of, go see Bad Boys 3 and respect some legends.
What else did I have? I had Sharif O'Neal transferring from UCLA.
We'll save that for the Pac-12 update.
Okay, you're going to save that? Okay, all right. Save that for the Pac-12.
Baron Davis, I'll put it quickly. Baron Davis has rescinded his support of Mick Cronin, something that we thought was very integral earlier in the season. He has said now that Reef is gone, he's out.
Yeah.
So
that's
a precursor.
Tune in on Tuesday.
Yeah, we'll see what's happening with that.
To the Pac-12.
Will Baron Davis officially turn on UCLA?
I want to shout out Devon Dotson, who I felt is playing at a first-team All-American level. He hurt his hip against Baylor. That was Baylor probably was still going to win anyway. Baylor has great guards and they lock up defensively, and you can make the argument that they were going to lock up Dotson anyway. But certainly without having Dotson out there, Kansas was screwed. I told you, I remember texting you, and then when I saw you, I was like certain of it that Devon Dotson tore something in his hip. It was not a hip pointer. I still stand by that, by the way. Not that he tore something, but the story they're putting forth is wrong, Tate. It's not true. He did not get a hip pointer in the Baylor game, but he apparently seems to be healthy. So I was kind of wrong. But I wasn't wrong. Like he definitely, the story they said was that he was playing in the Baylor game. He knocked hips with somebody. It was bruised. It was sore, and that was what was holding him back. That is definitely not the case. He might have a hip pointer, but it happened in practice or it happened some other time. It didn't happen in the Baylor game. I'm sticking by that. But it turns out he's probably healthy because he's putting up numbers since he's come back.
He's back. We learn in college basketball, the full circle conversation is there's never the whole truth. There's a lot of partial truths. There's a lot of people that are telling their version of the truth, but there's never a whole truth. And that's just where we are.
Or maybe he did tear his labrum and he's just like playing through it. And
again, still,
who knows?
Not the whole truth.
We don't know.
Not
we
the
don't
whole
know.
Truth,
but the point is, I was really worried because I felt I had my Alex Jones tinfoil hat on, and I was like, oh my God, he's out for the season. He's not coming back. This is very, very bad for Kansas. But he's back and he's playing pretty well. So I don't know. I'll concede that. Wasn't 100% right.
He's back.
I wasn't 100% right.
Kansas,
but I wasn't wrong.
Yeah, Kansas is okay.
All right, that's it. Games to watch. I want to say this just to get the people on the
involved,
same page.
invested. Yeah.
Friday night, as you're listening to this, that would be tonight. Marquette at Butler, FS1, 9 Eastern. Should be a good game. Butler is reeling a little bit, losing a lot of games. Marquette, Marcus Howard. How do you feel about Marcus Howard?
Just shoots a lot.
He shoots a lot. I'm on that side.
Like
Where do you fall?
Marcus Howard gets the hate that Trae Young gets all this hate for shooting too much and not passing to teammates, even though he's third in the league in assists.
Right.
In the entire NBA.
Divert that to Marcus Howard.
Marcus Howard
made the Hausers. I trust the Hausers.
Yeah.
They transfer.
Well, we do love the Big East. But
yeah, we do love the Big East.
Take the hate over there.
No, if you want a Big East scorer who's like goes unconscious, cheer for Miles Powell. That's the guy you want.
Yeah.
The Marcus Howard, I don't know.
And also, if your team lost to Rutgers earlier in the year, it wasn't a bad loss.
It's not a bad loss.
Just get over it.
Yeah.
Rutgers is good.
Miles Powell is definitely my Big East player of the year. No question about it. So
lock it in.
Saturday, there are two games I got my eye on. Kentucky at Texas Tech, 6 Eastern, ESPN on that one. And then also Baylor at Florida at 8 Eastern. The number one team in the country goes to your Florida Gators, Tate, the team that you said was going to win the national title at the beginning of the year. This is a big-time opportunity for them. That one's also on ESPN. We got the doubleheader.
This is the SEC Big 12 showdown.
Yeah.
Which, again, never makes sense.
I do like it, though, that it's in the middle of the season, like the middle of the conference season. That's pretty cool. Gives you some different games. And then Sunday we have San Diego State. The last remaining undefeated team is at UNLV. 4 Eastern on CBS Sports. UNLV is not great, but San Diego State's undefeated.
Yeah, this feels like a loss.
Oh, it does?
Yes.
I circled, I think, the big game. and
every game that they have next feels like a loss for San Diego State. You just feel like eventually they're going to slip
You're
up.
just going to call it every time.
Yeah,
like,
this feels like it.
The one to me is at New Mexico when they go to the pit. That I think San Diego State fans can tell me if I'm wrong. I think that's the game they're most worried about until the conference tournament, because I think if they get past that, they're smooth sailing. I think that's the one that they have circled as like, we'll see. There's that game at 4, also at 3 on Fox. Hey, would you look at that?
Oh, wow.
Michigan State at Minnesota. I'm going to keep an eye on that one. Michigan State lost tonight. Minnesota. I don't know what happened in Minnesota.
Yeah, I
I didn't see it. So those are some games to check out if you're not really sure what to watch. We'll probably be talking about something that happened in at least 1 or 2 of those. Check all that out. Anything else before we go, Tate?
Poor Sharif O'Neal. My goodness. Someone give this man a home.
For the best access, perspective, and personalities in all of sports, follow us at Fox Sports on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.